This is part 2 of the puzzle piece series. The series is basically showing you how to use puzzle piecing technique to 3-star the max Town Hall 9 bases. So continuing off the techniques you learned in the first one, we're going to look at a second base. This base is another max Town Hall 9. He has a lot of high level walls, high level heroes, and by puzzle piecing this base we're going to easily 3-star this. So the first thing that I always look at is air weaknesses. Starting with sweepers, we'll notice this time they're faced towards the outside. This is usually a bad strategy, just in general, so you guys know. But by doing that, he opened up a lot of the sides of his base to possible balloon attacks. So just know anything from the sides that the sweepers aren't facing is pretty direct. What you see is what you get, balloon attacks. Watching air defenses now, we see that his air defense coverage is actually pretty perfect with this base. Air defenses cover pretty much every single building. This cannon down here is actually the only defense in the entire base that isn't covered by an air defense. So we know that anytime we do balloons in this base, it's dependent on taking down the air defense first or using a lava hound. We have to do one or the other. Moving on to the next part is the double giant bomb scouting. So there's only 3 possible spots again. We have between the crossbows and the air defense on either side, and then also between this crossbow, between this mortar and the air defense. Like I said in the last video, usually people put them opposite, so it's a pretty safe and logical assumption that he'll have double giant bombs between the crossbow and air defense on each side. Possible single spots between the wizard tower and the cannon here. And then there's also a possibility next to the sweeper. We're not too worried because, like I said before, at this level people usually do the double giant bombs. Continue on to look for spots for hogs. Hogs, anytime you could use hogs, you probably should. They're, in my opinion, the most powerful and versatile unit at Town Hall 9. And they're absolutely deadly if you could use them. So we'll start with the north side of this base. You'll notice there's a big pocket of buildings all next to each other. We have about 7 defenses in total that hogs can run through without hitting a single trap. That means no spring traps, no double giant bombs, and no single giant bombs where you'd be forced to use a heal spell. So that's a really good candidate for hogs. Moving around clockwise, we see that possibly you could go from this archer tower to the wizard tower to the crossbow. But we already determined there's a good danger of giant bombs by that crossbow, as well as the fact that the queen is there. You can't just send hogs into the queen, you have to make sure the queen's out of the picture first. So that poses a big problem for us. Looking at the lower section of this base, you see that possibly from this cannon into these defenses you could send hogs. It's actually not a terrible option, going from like this cannon to the mortar and the arch tower. But it is very limited as far as where it can go, because if it tries to go left after this air defense, everything is going to be killed on that crossbow. Looking at the left-hand side of the base, the Barb King is guarding this, so you're going to want to steer clear of hogs there, and then we're back up to the top. So really we've determined one really prime spot for hogs, and one spot where hogs aren't bad. They're not perfect, but they're at least usable. So if we need to do that, we can do that. Just keep that in the back of your mind as a couple pieces of this puzzle. The other part we're going to look at is where we can get the queen. So you want to get the queen and you want to get the clan castle. That should be the focus of the go wee wee part of your attack on pretty much any hit you ever do. So where can we get the queen? We can get her if we attack from the northeast side, or we can get her if we attack from the southeast side. If we attacked from the southeast side, we would end up drawing this clan castle a little off-center, which is generally a bad idea. And the other negative of that approach is if we went from the southeast, we wouldn't end up setting off any double giant bombs or any giant bombs at all, unless he happened to use the single spots. And whenever you do the go wee wee, you probably want to set the giant bomb spots off. So that leads us to the northeast side. Northeast side has a really good little section for us. If we were to target this mortar with a golem, we see that the funnel is nice and wide. we can go ahead and drop wizards all the way from the spell factory, dark elixir storage, all the way around. And then on the east side, this cannon is a little problematic because it's not going to be targeting anything, and it's free to pick off your wizards. But we have everything from the gold mine, the elixir collector, and this other gold mine in. We know that once this archer tower is distracted, we can actually drop a minion right here and it will be fine to take out the army camp. So possible minion on the army camp, and just ever since the update, funnels need to be super wide. Just go ahead and drop an archer out here on the builder hut just to be extra sure that it's going down. So let's go ahead and look at where your golem will path as it goes into the base. So we already determined that we want to try and drop it on this mortar. But after it goes to the mortar, where do we want it to go? Do we want to blow up the wall sections here and send it towards this archer tower and the wiz tower? Do we want to do a jump spell right in the middle so it goes straight up towards the queen? Or do we want to drop it off to the side, kind of towards this other wizard tower? The answer is this third option, and I'll show you why. So, looking back at the puzzle pieces we had, we determined hogs are good for this part. Whenever we could use hogs, we should. So we'll try and leave this section open for a hog attack. If we were to jump right in the middle over this intersection here, it's good for the golem, it's good for the heroes, but all your wizards are going to probably jump right on top of giant bombs. If you can avoid that, obviously you want to. So by actually dropping the jump spell over here to the side, we're going to try and get this intersection here into the wizard tower compartment. Hopefully get the corner here into the air defense compartment, that way you can get 2 air defenses down. And also we're going to get the queen and the clan castle with that regardless. You're actually going to protect your wizards though by doing the jump spell over here, because wizards will jump into these 2 compartments and away from the giant bomb spots. Probably your heroes, your king if you send them in there, will probably rage towards the queen and take out some giant bombs. So with the first piece in mind, we know that we have the entire northeast side of the base taken care of. What about these defenses over here and the entire southwest side? Well, we're going to hope that the queen and the wizards are going to take out these defenses here. If not, we need to have a backup plan to take those out, but we'll get to that later. Looking at the whole southwest side of the base, with the sweepers out of the picture, because they're facing kind of away, and these 2 air defenses down, there's actually a really good path to access these air defenses. There's a direct channel of defenses that leads straight there. For both sides, the queen's not going to be targeting anything, and it has a perfect spot for a lava loon attack or a laloon attack. So what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and drop Hound on each of them. I actually have an extra spot since I'm Town Hall 9.5, which is the extra 25 troop space. So I'll go ahead and drop 2 hounds on this one just to make sure that, I have enough tank. I end up not needing it, but I have it, so I take advantage of it. And as far as your rage spell placements, you always want them to cover the high defense stuff and the air defense. So if we drop it covering this air defense, wizard tower, and crossbow on that one side, then on the south side we're just going to get the air defense, wizard tower, archer tower. We're also going to use a little technique of deploying one side slightly before the other. By deploying one side before the other, you get your troops on one side to join up with other troops, and for balloons that's especially important, same with getting the hounds on top of the air defenses so that the balloons don't take damage. We're just going to go ahead and do this left side first, just slightly before, and then the right side, so hopefully these troops join up. I think we have everything in this attack planned out pretty well. First piece of the puzzle was the go wee wee part here. Second piece of the puzzle was the hogs here. The third piece of the puzzle was the laloon attack on this backside. So this is going to end up acting actually very similar to a shattered laloon. Continuing, like I said before, with this archer tower that may not get taken out, we're hoping that we have a lot of surviving balloons by using the hounds and so many balloons back on the side. I'm actually using, I think, 12 balloons. So that's easily enough to have some survivors. And if this archer tower didn't go down, the balloons will definitely take it out because, as you see, there's not going to be anything standing which can take out the balloons. Well, let's watch this attack, see how it plays out. Go ahead and drop the archers to start picking off that corner building. Get the golem down. As soon as we get the lock on the golem, we're dropping wizards. Notice on the wizards, I'm not going on a straight line across, I'm going from the outside in. I'm going to reiterate that every single video because it's what makes the funnel. If you don't make the funnel, you're not going to have a good attack. Get that minion down to start taking out the army camp. Probably could have done that earlier, but it is what it is. Notice how we have the jump spell off center. Gets our troops going over. The king just took out two giant bombs. I'm going to pause it here really quick. Notice how the king took out the giant bombs, but the wizards are still alive. That's why we did the jump, and I mean, it worked perfectly, obviously. At the same time, we also released our hogs over on this left-hand side. It already took out that one archer tower, cannon, whatever was there. They're moving on to the wizard tower, and there's actually going to be some survivors to continue taking out the rest of those defenses. Let's go ahead and rage through the clan castle and the queen. I want to get through it quickly. At this point, our attack is looking really good. We have one air defense down, two air defenses down. That's enough for the laloon part of the attack. Let's go ahead and pause it here. We actually had really good survival on the go wee wee part. So we have the golem alive. He's actually still pretty healthy. That was just one golem, but as you saw, we got stuff killed pretty quickly, so he didn't actually take too much damage. The queen's still alive and shooting, and we're looking at getting the laloon part underway as quickly as possible. Just going to go ahead and get a spread on the lava hounds. That'll just make sure to take out any of the possible air traps that are there. Balloons down right after. Make sure to do at least 2 per. As balloons are coming into range of the defenses, we get our rage down. Covers everything. We see the first half is joining up with the second half here. So we have a whole united front of balloons. The queen was able to take down the archer tower, but it's pretty obvious to see that if the archer tower was still standing for some reason, all these balloons would have taken that down no problem. So at this point, just cleanup time. I did make the mistake of dropping all my wizards. I meant to save a wizard for this north gold mine here, but I'll end up having about 25 seconds to spare, so it doesn't end up hurting me in this attack. But if you're doing the attack, make sure to save a cleanup wizard. You don't want to get a 99% 2-star. So, troops clean up, and we've 3-starred another pretty max base. So just make sure to keep those puzzle piece techniques in the back of your mind. We had the hog for that one spot. We had the go wee wee for another spot. We had the loon for a third spot. And by putting that all together, we had a really solid attack. And the other benefit is that it's low risk. At no point was this attack super dependent on just like one thing happening. A lot of times with laloon attacks, if a lava hound goes the wrong way, or if balloons for some reason start taking damage, it goes downhill super fast. This attack could actually survive a couple things going wrong, and it would still have the ability to 3-star. So, good luck, use this, and I hope it helps.